I was in a museum when a woman handed me a note. Normal. Mail. Leave when I do. I looked up and she whispered, "That man is following you." When I turned around, I froze. I couldn't believe who was there. Don't forget to subscribe to Granny's Voice and comment where you're watching from. The afternoon sun came through the windows of the City Art Museum. I stood looking at a painting of flowers when I felt someone put paper in my hand. Normal. Mail. Leave when I do. The woman next to me was about 45 years old. She wore a blue dress and had short brown hair. She smiled at the painting like we were just looking at art together. "That man is following you," she said quietly. Her mouth almost didn't move. "The man in the black jacket near the old statues. Don't look right at him." My heart started beating very fast. I'm 67 years old. I have 4 grown children and 10 grandchildren. My husband passed away 5 years ago. I live alone in my small apartment in Maple Grove. Nothing like this has ever happened to me before. I slowly turned my head like I was just looking at other paintings. That's when I saw him. Robert Chin. My eyes got very big. I knew that face. Those dark eyes and that serious look. I'd seen him before. And my daughter, Lisa's apartment. 3 times in the last 2 months. He said he was her friend from work. Each time seemed normal and nice. "You know him?" the woman asked. It wasn't really a question. "He's my daughter's friend," I said carefully. Lisa told me he moved away last month. She said he got a new job in another city. The woman's face got tight and worried. "Mrs. Chin." "No, Mrs. Roberts. My name is Kate Miller. I'm a private detective. We need to talk but not here. Follow me in 2 minutes." She walked away before I could say anything. She stopped at a big painting. Crossed the room. My hands were shaking as I held my purse tight. Robert Chen was supposed to be gone. Lisa had a small party when he left. We ate pizza and cake. Her roommate Jenny was so happy because she never liked him. I looked toward the old statues. Robert was looking at a stone bird, but his eyes kept looking at me every few seconds. He wore the same watch I remembered. The same nice coat. He didn't look like someone who moved far away. He looked like someone who was watching and waiting. The note in my hand felt very heavy. I opened it slowly. "Your daughter didn't tell him to leave. He's been taking things from her. Money and important papers. I've been watching your family for 2 months. You're the only one who can help me understand what's happening. Trust no one in your family. Kim." My legs felt weak. I held onto the wall and pretended to read about the paintings. Money and important papers. The words made me feel sick. "Lisa works at a bank downtown. Good job. That she worked hard to get. She started there 4 years ago when she was 28. She's always been careful with money. Very smart and responsible. Or so I thought." Kate Miller looked at me and moved her head toward the door. I made my feet walk. 1 step at a time. Past paintings of mountains and oceans. My face in the glass cases looked old and scared. Robert followed from far away. The museum cafe was full of people eating lunch. Kate sat at a table in the corner. Her back was against the wall. She could see both doors from there. She waited for me to sit down. "He's not coming in," Kate said quietly. "He knows I'm here. We have maybe 8 minutes before he moves to another spot. Tell me what's happening." My voice didn't shake as much as I thought it would. "Tell me everything." She took out a thin folder from her bag. Inside were photos. Lisa at different places around town. At a restaurant. Going into a building I didn't know. Each photo had a date and time on it. "Robert Chen hired me 3 months ago." Kate started. "First it was normal. He said your daughter took money from him. He wanted proof to show the police. But the deeper I looked, the stranger everything got. The paperwork exists. I've seen it. Legal papers. Signed and filed correctly. Money was paid. Then what's wrong?" Kate leaned closer. "The problem is that some of that money came from accounts Lisa never knew about. Accounts in faraway places. Bank accounts connected to fake companies. And that money came from loans taken out using Lisa's name and social security number. For things that don't exist. The cafe sounds became quiet and far away. That can't be true. Lisa would never. There's more. Kate pushed another paper across the table. 2 weeks after Robert said he was leaving town, Lisa started getting scary messages. Emails from accounts that couldn't be traced. Phone calls from numbers that didn't exist. All saying the same thing. Stop asking questions. Forget what you found. Or bad things will happen to people you love. I looked at the printed emails. The words were cold and mean and scary. Robert has a mother who lives in Seattle. Kate kept talking. Someone sent him pictures of her walking to the store, sitting in the park, eating at her favorite restaurant. He got really scared. So he did what they told him to. He made everyone think he left town, changed his phone, told people he was starting a new life somewhere else. But he stayed here, living under a different name. And he hired me to find out who was behind the scary messages. And you think it's Lisa? I think it's bigger than Lisa. Kate pulled out another photo. This one showed Jenny, Lisa's roommate, getting into a silver car with an older man I didn't know. Do you know who this is? I shook my head. Martin Shaw, real estate owner, city council member. And according to what I found, he's connected to some very bad business deals. He's been seen with Jenny many times over the last 5 months. Never with Lisa. The room felt like it was spinning. I grabbed the table. Mrs. Roberts, I need to ask you something important. Kate's eyes looked right into mine. Has Lisa asked you about your bank accounts recently? About your savings? Your retirement money? Anything about money? The memory hit me like ice water. 3 weeks ago, Lisa came to visit on a Wednesday afternoon. That was strange because she usually comes on Sundays. She seemed nervous. She kept looking at her phone. Then she asked if I ever thought about moving my money to a better bank. Just to get more interest, she said. Smiling that smile that always got her out of trouble when she was little. It would help your money grow faster, Mom. And with everything getting more expensive, it makes sense to plan ahead. I told her I'd think about it. She kissed my cheek and said she'd send me information about a financial helper who could assist me. I haven't heard from her since. She asked about my money. Said slowly. When? 3 weeks ago. She said she'd send information about someone who could help. Kate's face got dark and worried. When? 3 weeks ago, she said. But I stopped. She hasn't called. She always calls on Sundays to check on me. Even when she's busy. Mrs. Roberts, I need you to listen carefully. Kate's voice got very quiet. Main person they're looking at. Kate continued. But they think he has helpers. Younger people who do the day-to-day work while Shaw provides the connections and makes everything look good. You think Lisa is one of those helpers? I think Lisa got involved in something that got much bigger than she planned. I think Robert figured it out, and that's why your daughter had to push him away. But the question that keeps me awake at night is this. Why do they want your retirement money? Before I could answer, Kate's phone buzzed. She looked at it and her face went white. We need to leave now. Different exits. What's wrong? Robert just texted me. He says there's another man here. And this one isn't watching you. She stood up fast, getting her folder. He's watching me. My blood felt cold. What does that mean? Means someone knows I'm investigating. And they want to know what I found. Kate put a business card in my hand. Remember my number. Destroy this card. If you need me, use a payphone. Never your phone. Trust nobody in your family until we know everything. But she was already walking toward the back door. Her blue dress disappeared into the crowd of people. I sat there for a moment. My mind was racing. Then I made myself stand. Made myself walk normally toward the main exit. Walk like a normal grandmother who just looked at art on a Thursday. Robert Chen was gone from the statue area. But when I stepped outside into the warm October air, I saw a man in a dark jacket near the parking area. He was holding a phone to his ear. His eyes were looking right at the museum door. He watched me walk to my car. He watched me drive away. And I knew for certain that my life had just become much more dangerous than I ever imagined. That night I sat in my kitchen. The same kitchen where I'd made thousands of meals. Where Lisa had done her homework at the wooden table. Where we'd celebrated birthdays. And holidays. And I pulled out something I hadn't told Kate about. For days ago a brown envelope came in my mail. No return address. Inside was one page. A copy of a bank transfer paper dated next week. It showed my retirement account. My savings of 35 years. Being moved to something called Coastal Investments Group. My signature was already on the paper. Except I'd never signed anything. I put the paper on the table under the bright kitchen light. I looked at the signature that looked almost like mine. Almost. But not exactly right. The R was too round. The final part of the S was too short. Someone had copied my signature. Someone was planning to take my money. And I was pretty sure I knew exactly who. I didn't sleep that night. Every sound the house made, every car that drove by, made my heart jump. At 2 a.m. I stood at my window looking at the street, wondering if someone was out there in the dark, watching back. By morning I had made a decision. I needed answers. I needed them before whoever copied my signature did it again. But I also needed to be smart. If Lisa was involved in something criminal, and everything pointed to that terrible truth, then talking to her directly would only warn her that I knew. I thought about my other children. David, my oldest. He lives in Texas with his wife and 2 sons. We talk every few months. Quick conversations about weather and grandchildren. He's always been busy with his job. More interested in his career than family time. Then there's Amy, my youngest. A nurse who works long hours at the hospital. Sweet, caring Amy who always looked up to Lisa. Who borrowed money from her big sister to pay for nursing school. If Lisa was doing bad things, Amy would never believe it. Well, I was alone in this. I spent Friday morning doing something I'd never done. Lying to my daughter. Lisa called at 10 o'clock. Her voice was happy and normal. Hey Mom. Sorry I haven't checked in. Work has been crazy. How are you? Fine, sweetie. Just the usual. Getting ready for winter. Kept my voice light. Grandmother-like. Did you ever send that information about the financial helper? Was short, but I heard it. Yeah. I've been meaning to. Actually, I found someone really good. His office is in the city, but he comes to clients' homes. Very easy. I was thinking maybe next week I could bring him over. We could look at everything together. Clients' homes. The words hurt. Like I was just another job. That sounds nice. Delight. Tuesday afternoon works for me. Perfect. I'll set it up and let you know. Her relief was clear in her voice. Love you, Mom. Love you too. I hung up and grabbed my car keys right away. The Maple Grove Library opened at 10. I got there 20 minutes early. I watched the parking lot from across the street. I checked for any cars that seemed too interested in where I was. Kate's worry was spreading to me. But I couldn't be careless. The library helper was a young man named Tom. He helped me use the computer to look up information. I'd never done research online beyond email and recipe websites. But Tom walked me through each step. He was very patient. Coastal Investments Group showed up in the system. It was registered 2 months ago. The main contact was a lawyer named Harold Price. His address was in downtown offices. I searched for Lisa's bank next. Riverside Community Bank, where she works. Everything looked normal and good. But then I searched for something else. A new company called Roberts Financial Services. It had formed 1 week after Roberts supposedly left town. Jenny was listed as the owner. The business address was the same office building I'd seen in Kate's photos. My hands shook as I wrote everything in my small notebook. I made it look like I was researching family history in case anyone asked. Then I did something risky. I searched for Martin Shaw, the city council member Kate had told me about. Many results came up. City meetings, building projects, charity work. He looked good and respectable. Exactly the kind of leader our town was proud of. But buried deep in old news articles I found something else. A story from 10 years ago. About a business deal that went wrong. People lost their savings. Shaw's name was there with 2 other businessmen. They were sued but never charged. The case was settled. Quietly. Sealed records. No one admitted doing anything wrong. One of the other names in that article was George Roberts. My husband. I stared at the screen. The library disappeared around me. George had died 5 years ago from a stroke. Sudden and terrible. He'd been a property inspector. Honest and careful. He'd never mentioned knowing Martin Shaw. He'd certainly never mentioned a lawsuit. Ma'am, are you okay? Tom was looking at me with worry. I whispered. Just need some air. I printed the article with shaking hands. I left before my legs stopped working. In my car I read the article 3 times. George wasn't accused of doing anything wrong. He'd been the inspector who gave reports that turned out to have wrong information. The article said investigators found no proof he knew the information was being changed by the business owners. He'd been used. Not a criminal. But Lisa would have been 18 when this happened. Old enough to remember. Old enough to learn. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Mrs. Roberts. A man's voice. Professional but urgent. This is Robert Chen. Please don't hang up. My heart pounded hard. How did you get this number? From the museum cameras. I made the image bigger and saw you talking to Kate. I saw the business card she gave you. I looked up her records. I'm sorry for bothering you, but we're running out of time. Time for what? To stop whatever is happening on Tuesday. His voice sounded strained. I've been watching Lisa's messages. Don't ask how. She's bringing more than a financial helper to your house. There's going to be someone else. Someone who specializes in, let's call it, aggressive money management. What does that mean? It means they're going to pressure you to sign papers right away. They'll have everything ready. A notary, witnesses, everything. They'll make it seem urgent and legal and necessary. And once you sign, your retirement money won't be yours anymore. I held the phone tight. Why are you helping me? Kate said you're working against Lisa. But not because I want revenge. Robert's voice got softer. Because I know what it's like when someone you trust betrays you. Lisa was my friend, Mrs. Roberts. I thought we were building something good together. By the time I realized what she was really doing, I was too deep in it. She threatened my mother to keep me quiet. I can't let her do that to her own mother. What was she really doing? Tell me all of it. Robert took a deep breath. Your daughter is running a loan fraud scheme. She finds older people with retirement savings. People who are alone, vulnerable, trusting. She becomes their friend. Often through community groups or church. Then she convinces them to move their money, promising to help them invest it safely, promising better returns than any bank could give. My stomach felt sick. The money goes into fake companies. Robert continued. Gets moved through many accounts. Then it's used to fund real-looking business deals. On paper everything looks clean and legal. But the older people never see returns on their investment. Eventually they lose everything they saved. Meanwhile, Lisa and her partners buy the things they want. Nice cars. Expensive vacations. Big houses. How many people? I whispered. That I know of. 12 in the last 2 years. Probably more before I got involved. Didn't figure it out until last year. I thought we were doing real financial planning. When I confronted Lisa, she said I was already connected to everything. She had documents with my signature. Emails that made it look like I was running the scheme. She gave me a choice. Leave town and stay quiet, or she'd make sure I took all the blame alone. And my money. Your money is different. Worth more. It's in a good bank. But more than that, I think. This is personal for Lisa. I think she needs to prove something. Prove what? That she's smarter than her father was. That she won't make the same mistakes. The words hurt like a punch. You know about the lawsuit? The one George was in. Lisa talked about it once after drinking wine. Robert said quietly. She said her father was weak. That he let other men get rich while he stayed poor and honest. She said she learned the most important lesson from watching your husband. That in business nice people don't win. They finish with nothing. Closed my eyes. Fighting tears. George wasn't poor. We had enough. We were happy. No. But Lisa saw it differently. She saw a man who died without leaving his family wealthy. And she decided she'd never let that happen to her. Car pulled into the parking lot 3 spaces from mine. A woman got out. Walked into the library. Normal everyday activity. But I'd stopped trusting normal. What do I do? Asked. How do I stop Tuesday from happening? Don't be home. Robert said right away. Go somewhere she can't find you. Give me time to gather more proof. Kate and I are working on something, but we need a few more days. I can't just run away. This is my home. And what about my grandchildren? What about? My phone made a sound. Another call coming in. Lisa. Have to go. I told Robert. She's calling. Mrs. Roberts listened to me. Robert said quickly. Lisa is not the daughter you think she is anymore. Maybe she never was. Whatever she says. Whatever promises she makes. Remember, she's willing to steal your retirement savings. She's willing to leave you with nothing. Don't let love make you blind. He hung up. Lisa's call went to voicemail. I listened to it with shaking hands. Hey Mom. Great news. I got that financial helper scheduled for Tuesday at 3. His name is Harold Price. Really professional guy. Jenny wants to come too. She can help explain things in simple terms. We'll bring dinner. Can't wait to see you. Love you. Harold Price. Same. Name listed for Coastal Investments Group. My daughter wasn't even trying to hide it. She thought I was too old, too trusting, too simple to figure things out. I drove home in a fog. My mind was spinning with choices. I could call the police. But Kate said they were already investigating. Getting local police involved might mess up their case. I could confront Lisa directly. But that would only make whatever timeline she had move faster. Or I could do what Robert said and disappear for a few days. But running felt like giving up. And I hadn't raised 4 children alone after George died by giving up. I needed something powerful. Something Lisa didn't know I had. At home I went straight to the attic. George's files were still there. In boxes. Organized by year. I'd kept everything after his death. Unable to throw away his careful records. At the time I thought I was just being sentimental. No, I realized I was being prepared. I found the box labeled 2015. The year of the lawsuit. Carried it downstairs. Inside were inspection reports. Letters with lawyers. Notes in George's neat handwriting. He'd written down everything. Including conversations where business people asked him to change his reports. Make buildings look better than they were. He'd said no. He'd been threatened. He'd reported the threats to his boss. There were names in these files. Companies. Properties. And there in a paper dated 2 months before George died was a note about a new inspector being hired. A young inspector just starting out. Willing to be more flexible with reports. The inspector's name was Martin Shaw. Not Lisa. Shaw. I sat at my kitchen table as afternoon light faded. Reading my husband's words. Understanding for the first time the weight he'd carried. George had known Shaw was making wrong choices. He'd tried to warn him. And Shaw had probably seen those warnings. As someone getting in his way. My phone buzzed. A text from a number I didn't know. Check your front door. Don't open it. Just look. Kim. I walked to the front window and looked out carefully. There was an envelope taped to my door. Bright white against the dark wood. I didn't go get it. Instead I called. Were gone before I could stop them. What do I do? Wait until dark. I'll come get it. I found something about my husband and Lisa. About how far back this goes. Hold on to it. We'll need it. She stopped talking for a second. Mrs. Roberts. I have to tell you something. Robert called me an hour ago. He's disappeared. His apartment is empty. His car is gone. He left me a message saying he had to leave town right away. That someone connected to Shaw found out he was still here. My blood went cold. Is he safe? Oh no. But it means they're tying up loose ends. Getting rid of witnesses. Her voice got hard. You need to understand what that means for you. You're not just a target for theft anymore. You're someone who knows about Lisa's crimes. And people who know things can be dangerous. The envelope on my door seemed to glow in the fading light. What do you think is in there? I whispered. Only one way to find out. But Mrs. Roberts. Whatever it says, don't let them scare you into making mistakes. Fear is their weapon. Don't give them that power. After dark, Kate got the envelope using gloves. She opened it in her car while I watched from my window. Both of us connected by phone. It's a legal document, she said. A notice of competency proceedings. Someone has filed paperwork saying you're mentally unable to handle your own affairs. They're asking for an emergency hearing next Monday. The room spun around me. Who filed it? Kate was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was gentle but strong. Your daughter-in-law Jenny, Lisa's roommate. She's saying you've shown signs of memory problems and confusion. She has statements from 3 people. Neighbor. Someone from your doctor's office. And someone from your bank. And Mrs. Roberts. The petition says Lisa is too emotional to file it herself because she's in denial about your condition. It's actually quite smart. It makes her look innocent and caring while still getting what they want. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. If they get this approved, Kate continued, they'll have legal control over all your money, including your retirement account. And there won't be anything you can do to stop it. I spent Saturday morning doing something that would have seemed crazy a week ago, but now felt necessary for survival. Copied everything. George's files. The fake bank transfer. The competency petition. Every piece of proof I'd found. I made 3 copies of everything. Put them in different places. 1. Set in my safe deposit box at the bank. 1 with my neighbor Dorothy, who thought I was just organizing papers. And 1 hidden in a waterproof bag buried in my garden under the tomato plants. If they wanted to call me incompetent, I'd show them exactly how competent I was. By noon I was exhausted but thinking clearly. I made myself eat lunch. Soup and crackers. Though everything tasted like nothing. I was washing dishes when my phone rang. Me. My youngest daughter. Calling from the hospital on a Saturday afternoon. Me. Never talked on Saturdays. Hey, do you have a minute? Her voice had that careful tone she used when dealing with difficult patients. Course, honey. How are you? I'm fine. Listen. Lisa called me last night. She's worried about you. She paused and I could hear papers moving. She said you've been acting strange. Forgetting things. She mentioned you asked her about moving your money but then couldn't remember talking about it. My hand tightened on the phone. That's not true. I remember. Everything perfectly. Mom, it's nothing to be ashamed of. Memory problems happen as we get older. Lisa just wants to make sure you're okay. We all do. Amy, I'm 67, not 97. My mind is fine. But you live alone in that apartment. And Lisa said you've been asking the same questions over and over. Getting confused about dates. Her voice got that fake kindness. She showed me some emails you sent her. They were rambling and confused. Not like you at all. Ice ran through my body. What emails? The ones from last week. About Dad's old files. Asking about people Lisa doesn't even know. She said you've been obsessing over things that happened years ago. Getting upset about business deals that have nothing to do with you. I'd never sent Lisa any emails about George's files. I'd barely talked to her since the museum. Amy, I need you to listen very carefully. I haven't sent Lisa any strange emails. I haven't forgotten any conversations. Someone is. Lying to you. Your sister is trying to steal my retirement money. She's involved in criminal activity. And she's building a case to have me declared incompetent so I can't stop her. The silence that followed was worse than any argument. Amy said finally, her voice now cold and professional. This is exactly what Lisa was worried about. Paranoid thinking. Accusations against family. These are classic signs. Classic signs of what? Of mental decline. Of someone who needs help. Took a breath. I'm flying home tomorrow. I've already bought the ticket. We're going to sit down together. Me, Lisa, David. And we're going to figure out the best way to help you through this. Amy, please. You have to believe me. I love you, Mom. We'll talk more when I get there. Try to rest. She hung up. I stood in my kitchen. The phone silent in my hand. Understanding very clearly what was happening. Lisa had gotten to Amy first. She'd shown her fake evidence. Planted doubts about my mental state. Made herself look like the worried daughter trying to help a confused mother. And Amy, who'd always been more interested in following rules than asking questions, had looked at the evidence and made her professional judgment. They were building a perfect case. Medical concerns from doctors. Legal papers from Jenny. Support from Amy. By Monday's hearing I'd be facing not just my daughter but my whole family. All united in believing that I needed to be saved from myself. Called Kate right away. They've turned my other daughter against me. I said without starting with hello. Lisa made fake emails. Convinced Amy I'm having memory problems. She's flying home tomorrow to stage an intervention. How many people will be at this intervention? Amy said all my children. Lisa, David, Jenny, and her. That's good, Kate said. Surprising me. How is that possibly good? 'Cause it means they're rushing. Desperate people make mistakes. I heard papers moving on her end. I've been looking deeper into Martin Shaw. The man is very careful. 25 years in business without ever being charged. But 2 months ago something changed. He started selling things. Moving money to other countries. Closing down real businesses. Classic signs someone knows the police are getting close. What does that have to do with Lisa? Everything. Because Lisa is Shaw's way out. Kate's voice was intense. Think about it. Shaw needs to give his operation to someone young. Clean. With no obvious connection to his past crimes. Someone who can take over the network while Shaw retires to a country that won't send him back. But Lisa isn't clean. You said the police are investigating. They're investigating the ring. But they don't have proof directly connecting Lisa to Shaw. Not yet. Lisa has been careful. Everything goes through middle people. Fake companies. Lawyers. On paper she looks like a normal bank worker who happened to have a dishonest friend named Robert. The pieces came together in my mind. Robert was meant to take the blame from the start. Exactly. And now Lisa needs money to expand the operation before Shaw leaves. Your retirement account is worth at least $400,000. But more than that. Stealing from her own mother. Getting away with it cleanly. That proves to Shaw that Lisa has what it takes to run this business. Felt sick. This is a test. It's an audition. And Mrs. Roberts. Lisa passes. If she successfully takes everything from you while making you look incompetent and herself look like a loving daughter, then she becomes Shaw's replacement. Which means the fraud scheme that's hurt 12 people becomes something much bigger. Something that could hurt hundreds. The weight pressed down on me. This wasn't just about my money anymore. This was about stopping something much larger. Much darker. What's our move? Yes. We need proof linking Lisa directly to Shaw's criminal activity. Something the police can use. And we need it before Monday's hearing. Kate stopped talking for a second. There's something else. I made contact with a police detective who's been working the Shaw case. Detective Maria Santos. She's willing to talk to you off the record. But it has to be today. Tonight. Where? I'll text you the address. Come alone. And Mrs. Roberts. Bring George's files. Santos thinks your husband might have written down more than he realized. At 6 o'clock I drove to a coffee shop in the next town, 30 minutes from Maple Grove. The place was almost empty. Just a few college students with laptops. And a young couple talking quietly in the corner. Kate sat at a back table with a woman in her 30s. Dark hair in a ponytail. Sharp eyes that studied me the moment I walked in. Mrs. Roberts. This is Detective Maria Santos. Financial Crimes Unit. Santos didn't offer her hand. Let's be clear about something first. This conversation isn't official. I'm not here as a detective. If you repeat anything I say, I'll deny we ever met. Understood. I nodded and sat down. Kate says you have files from George Roberts' inspection work from 2015. I put the folder on the table. Santos opened it, looking through pages quickly. Her face stayed neutral, but I saw her stop on certain papers. Saw her eyes get narrow. Your husband was thorough, she said finally. These notes about pressure from business owners. These names. This supports information we've been trying to verify for months. Will it help your case against Shaw? Help show a pattern and timeline. But Shaw is smart. He never touches anything directly. We need someone inside his operation willing to testify. Santos looked right at me. We thought Robertson might be that person. But he's disappeared. And honestly, his believability is damaged by his involvement in the fraud. What about Lisa? The words hurt to say. If you gave her immunity, would she testify against Shaw? Santos' face got hard. Your daughter is not a small player, Mrs. Roberts. Based on what we found, Lisa has been actively running the Elder fraud operation for 2 years. Robert was involved for 10 months. Lisa recruited him, trained him. And when Robert started feeling guilty, your daughter systematically destroyed his life to keep him quiet. The coffee shop suddenly felt too hot. How many people has she hurt? 17 that we can prove. Probably more. Total losses are over $3 million. Most victims were too embarrassed to report it. Or by the time they realized what happened, the money was gone and we couldn't trace it. 17 people. Older people like me. Trusting their savings to someone who seemed professional and kind and caring. There's something you need to understand. Santos continued. We've been building this case for 1.5 years. We're close. Maybe 2 weeks from having enough proof for arrests. But if your daughter suspects we're investigating her, if anything spooks her into running, we lose everything. Shaw walks, Lisa walks, and 17 families never see justice. What are you saying? I'm saying that whatever's happening with your money, with this competency petition, you need to play along. Let it happen. Let Lisa think she's winning. I stared at her. You want me to let my daughter steal my retirement savings? I want you to help us put her in prison where she belongs. Santos leaned forward. The competency hearing on Monday. That's perfect. Gets all the key players in one room. On the record. Making legal claims that we can later prove were fake. If you fight it, if you show what you know now, Lisa gets scared and runs. But if you seem confused, vulnerable, exactly what they expect, then they'll get overconfident. They'll make mistakes. And I lose my money. Temporarily. Once we make arrests, everything gets frozen as evidence. Your retirement account can't be transferred or touched. And when the case goes to trial, fraudulent transfers get reversed. You'd get your money back. You're asking me to trust the system. My voice was bitter. The same system that let Shaw operate for 25 years. The same system that almost destroyed my husband over something he didn't do. Santos didn't look away. I'm asking you to trust that some of us still care about doing what's right. And I'm telling you that you're not alone in this anymore. Kate spoke up quietly. Mrs. Roberts. There's another thing to think about. Your grandchildren. Lisa's kids. If this goes to trial, and Lisa faces serious prison time, those children will need family who isn't in jail or involved. They'll need their grandmother. The thought of Lily and Max, 8 and 10 years old, innocent, about to watch their world fall apart, made my chest ache. What would I have to do? Yes. Santos pulled out a small device. No bigger than a button. Wear a wire to the family meeting tomorrow. Record everything. We need Lisa, Jenny, and Amy on tape discussing the competency petition and the money transfer. We need them spelling out their plans in their own words. That's it. That's step 1. Then at the Monday hearing you play the part they expect. Confused, forgetful, easily manipulated. Let them get the competency approval. Let them think they've won. And then we move fast. We have search warrants ready to go the moment we have enough proof. Once we raid Lisa's office and Shaw's properties, the whole network falls apart. Santos' expression softened slightly. No. What I'm asking. But Mrs. Roberts. We're talking about stopping a criminal organization that's destroyed lives. Your daughter made her choices. Now you have to make yours. I thought about George. About his careful notes. His refusal to compromise his honesty even when threatened. I thought about the 17 families who'd lost everything to my daughter's greed. I thought about what kind of person I wanted to be in this moment. Give me the wire, said. Santos showed me a small recording device and showed me how to wear it hidden under my shirt. Test it tomorrow morning. Make sure it's working. And Mrs. Roberts, be careful. If Lisa suspects you're recording, she finds this device, you're in real danger. These people have already threatened Robert's mother. They've already forged legal documents in your name. Don't underestimate. Through dark streets, very aware of every car behind me, every shadow. At home I found another envelope on my door. Inside was a single photograph. Me at the library, looking at the computer screen showing Martin Shaw's name. Someone had been watching. Someone had written down my research. On the back of the photo in neat handwriting. Stop asking questions. You won't like the answers. But underneath that message in different handwriting, rushed and messy, someone had added, your daughter knows you met with the police. Get out now. I didn't recognize either handwriting. I stood on my porch, photo shaking in my hand, trying to understand who had left this warning and why. Then my house phone rang. At 9:30 at night. I went inside, locked the door, and answered. Heavy breathing on the other end. Then a voice I didn't recognize, changed by a machine to sound strange. You should have stayed out of it, Mrs. Roberts. Now you've made this personal. Who is this? Someone who's been cleaning up Martin Shaw's problems for 15 years. Your husband almost became a problem once. We handled it. Now you're becoming a problem. The strange voice stopped talking for a second. Strokes are so common in people your age. So sad. So sudden. The line went dead. I stood frozen. The meaning clear and terrible. George hadn't died naturally. Someone had killed him. And now they were threatening to kill me too. I didn't stay in my house that night. Packed a small bag. Took the most important papers. And drove to a cheap motel 25 miles away. I registered under my maiden name Walker. Paid cash. I kept the lights off and the curtains closed. Sitting on the edge of the bed until morning. Playing that strange voice in my mind. Strokes are so common in people your age. George had been 62 when he died. Healthy. Active. No history of heart problems or strokes. The doctors said it was a brain aneurysm. Sudden and fatal. No one questioned it. Why would they? People died from aneurysms every day. But if someone had wanted to silence him, to stop him from exposing what he knew about Shaw's operation, a staged medical emergency would be perfect. No investigation, no suspicion, just grief and acceptance. I'd spent 5 years mourning my husband. Now I was facing the possibility that I should have been demanding justice. At 5 in the morning I called Kate from the motel phone. They killed George. I said without starting with hello. That phone call last night. They basically admitted it. No. Santos called me an hour ago. They're trying to trace the call, but it came from a phone bought with cash. Probably already destroyed. Kate's voice was tight with worry. Mrs. Roberts. You can't go back to your house. It's not safe. Have to. Amy arrives at noon. Lisa is planning the family intervention for this afternoon. If I don't show up, they'll use it as more proof I'm incompetent. Or worse, they'll come looking for me. Then I'm coming with you. I'll be nearby watching. And Santos is putting an undercover team in the area. You won't be alone. If they kill George. If they're willing to. My voice cracked. I have children. Grandchildren. What if? They won't. Because you're visible now. You've talked to the police. You've made connections. Killing you now would raise too many questions. That's why the phone call was just a threat. Trying to scare you into backing off. We pause. But we both know the real danger isn't death. It's that competency petition. Once they have legal control, they can isolate you completely. Put you in a facility. Make you disappear without violence. The thought was somehow worse than a death threat. Being alive but powerless. Locked away while my daughter destroyed everything George and I had built. While she used my savings as another piece in her criminal empire. Tell me the wire will work. Said. Tell me we'll get what Santos needs. Test it when you get home. Make sure the battery is charged. And Mrs. Roberts. Don't be a hero. Record what they say. That's all we need. I drove back to Maple Grove as the sun rose. Taking back roads. Checking my mirrors constantly. The recording device was in my purse. Small and harmless looking. At home I tested it like Kate had shown me. Recording myself reading from a magazine. Playing it back. The audio was clear. Every word captured. I was wearing this device when my daughter arrived at noon. Amy looked professional as always. Nice clothes. Perfect makeup. Her blonde hair styled in the same way she'd worn since nursing school. She hugged me briefly. Her perfume was expensive and unfamiliar. How are you feeling, Mom? Fine, honey. Surprised by the visit but happy to see you. She looked at my face like a doctor examining a patient. You look tired. Have you been sleeping okay? Well enough. Kept my voice steady. Grandmother-like. Exactly what they expected. Can I make you some tea? That would be nice. We sat in the kitchen. The same kitchen where I'd raised her. Where she'd studied for nursing exams and planned her future. Now she sat across from me like a nurse evaluating a difficult patient. I want to talk about what's happening. About the concerns Lisa has raised. What concerns? The memory issues. The confusion. The paranoid thoughts about her stealing from you. Amy's tone was gentle but firm. These things happen as we age. There's no shame in it. I'm not confused, Amy. I'm being manipulated. That's exactly what Lisa said you'd say. This belief that everyone's against you. It's a symptom, Mom. It's your brain trying to make sense of gaps in your memory by creating stories that aren't real. I wanted to scream. Instead, I drank my tea and chose my words carefully. What if I could prove what I'm saying is true? Prove it. Documents. Evidence. Things that show Lisa isn't who you think she is. Amy's expression got hard. I've seen the emails you sent Lisa. I've talked to your doctor's office. They said you've missed appointments and called asking about medicines you've never been prescribed. Your bank flagged unusual activity. You've been taking out large amounts of cash. And when they asked why, you said you needed it for safety. These are facts, not theories. Every word she spoke was a lie built on fake evidence. Lisa had been thorough. Creating a paper trail of incompetence. Making false reports. Probably paying people to make statements. And Amy, trained to trust documentation over emotion, believed every word. When do Lisa and David arrive? Asked. Changing tactics. 2 o'clock. Lisa thought it would be better if we talked first. Just you and me. Mother to daughter. She reached across the table. Putting her hand on mine. I want you to understand that we're not trying to hurt you. We're trying to help. And sometimes help means making hard decisions. Decisions like the competency petition. Her hand got tense on mine. Lisa mentioned you received that notice. You knew about it. Course I knew. I reviewed the paperwork. As a nurse, I wanted to make sure everything was filed correctly. Together as a family. The recording device pressed against my skin, capturing every word. Amy was admitting she knew about the petition, confirming the family conspiracy. What about David? Yes. What does he think? David trusts Lisa's judgment. He understands this is for the best. Car pulled into my driveway. Through the window I saw Lisa's red car. And behind it David's truck. My children arriving together. United in their mission to save their mother from herself. Or so David and Amy believed. Lisa walked in first. All smiles and concern. She hugged me tight. And I felt her eyes scan the room. Looking. Checking. Jenny followed. Carrying a container of food. Playing the helpful friend. David came last. His face troubled but accepting. You look good, Lisa said. Her voice warm. I've been so worried. Have you? The question came out sharper than I meant. Her smile didn't change. Course. You're my mother. When Amy told me about your concerns, about these ideas you've had, I knew we needed to have a family talk. We gathered in the living room. Jenny set out the food. Chicken and rice. My supposed favorite. Though I'd always preferred pasta. Small details Lisa had never bothered to remember. Lisa began. Sitting in George's old chair like she owned it. We need to talk about your future. About making sure you're taken care of. I take care of myself. Just fine. But you're getting older. The apartment is a lot for one person. The bills. The maintenance. The worry. Too much. She leaned forward. Looking sincere. What if something happened? What if you fell or had a medical emergency and no one was there to help? Have neighbors. Have a phone. But is that enough? Jenny said. Her voice sweet like honey. Lisa and I have been talking. There's a beautiful senior living facility across town. Private apartments. Medical staff right there. Activities and social events. You'd have your independence but also security. I'm not moving to a facility. No one's forcing you to do anything. Lisa said quickly. We're just exploring options. But Mom, we also need to discuss your retirement account. This money. It's a significant amount. And honestly it's not being managed efficiently. There it was. The real reason. Barely 10 minutes into the conversation. What do you mean efficiently? I mean it's sitting in a basic savings account earning almost nothing. You're losing money to inflation every year. Lisa's tone became businesslike. I've talked to financial experts. With proper investment this money could grow significantly. That's money you could use for your care. For your future. My future in a facility you've chosen. A facility where you'd be comfortable and safe. She smiled. I know change is scary. But you have to trust that we have your best interests at heart. David spoke up for the first time. I think what Lisa is saying makes sense. You shouldn't have to worry about money management and investment strategies. Let us help handle these things. Sweet David, who'd always believed the best in everyone. Who couldn't imagine his sister was anything but helpful. And the competency petition. Yes. Looking directly at Lisa. Was that about my best interest too? The room went silent. Lisa's expression changed just for a second before the mask of concern came back. The petition was Jenny's idea, she said carefully. And honestly I argued against it at first. But Mom, after the emails you've been sending, after talking to Amy about your behavior, I realized she might be right. You're showing signs of decline. Real signs. And legally having this approval in place protects you from making decisions that could harm you financially. Like what? Like withdrawing large amounts of cash. Like making accusations about people. She stopped talking as if the words were too painful. Like accusing you of trying to steal my retirement savings. Finished. Jenny stood up fast. This is exactly what the doctors warned us about. Paranoia. The hostility toward family members trying to help. Mrs. Roberts. We love you. But you're not thinking clearly. My mind is perfectly clear. Clear enough to know that you filed competency papers before ever talking to me. Clear enough to know that Lisa has already talked to financial experts about my money. You're not planning to Help me. You're planning to take everything I have. Lisa's mask dropped further. Her jaw got tight. Her eyes went cold. You need to stop. You're embarrassing yourself. Or am I finally seeing the truth about what my daughter has become? What I've become. Lisa stood, her voice rising. I've become successful. I've built a career. I provide for my family. I'm not the one living in the past, obsessing over Dad's old files, making crazy accusations. How do you know about George's files? The question hung in the air. Lisa froze, realizing her mistake. Amy mentioned you've been going through old papers. No, she didn't. I never told Amy about the files. I stood to face her. But you know about them because you've been watching me. Or having someone watch me. Just like someone followed me to the library. Just like someone left a photo on my door. You're not making sense. Jenny said desperately. This is the confusion we've been talking about. Is it confusion or is it clarity? I looked at each of them. Lisa with her barely hidden anger. Jenny with her fake concern. Amy with her medical assessment. David with his growing uncertainty. Here's what I think is really happening. I think Lisa is involved in something criminal. I think she needs my retirement savings as part of a business deal. And I think all of this, the competency petition, the concerns about my memory, this intervention, it's all designed to get control of my money before I can stop her. That's insane. Lisa said flatly. Is it? Then why did Robert Chin warn me about you? Why did he tell me you're running a fraud scheme that's hurt dozens of people? Lisa's face went white. You talked to Robert. I did. And he told me everything. About the fake loans, the fake companies, the threats against his mother. He told me you're not a legitimate bank worker, Lisa. You're a criminal. The word hung between us like a bomb. David stood up, confused. Wait, what's going on? Lisa, what is she talking about? She's making things up. Lisa. But her voice lacked confidence. Robert Chen was my friend. He stole from clients. And when I found out, he created this huge lie to make himself look innocent. Then why did the police want to talk to me about you? Yes. Lisa's eyes got very wide. And I saw real fear flash across her face before she controlled it. You talked to the police. Her voice was dangerously quiet. I did. Because unlike you, I believe in the truth. If you talked to police, without a lawyer present, if you made statements about family matters you don't understand, you could have caused serious legal problems for all of us. Lisa was talking faster now, her professional voice coming out. Whatever they told you, whatever they implied, you need to understand they're building a case against Robert. Not me. If they can, it's pointless. Well, Lisa's command stopped her. She turned to Amy and David. Did either of you know she was talking to police? They shook their heads, both looking shaken. I need you to tell me exactly what you said to them. Word for word. This is important. If you gave wrong information about the business, about Robert, about anything. She ran a hand through her hair, her composure cracking. You could be charged with lying to police. Do you understand that? You could go to, well, is that a threat? It's a fact. And it's why you need help managing your affairs. You're making choices that could destroy your life. And you don't even realize it. She pulled out her phone. I'm calling Harold Price. We're moving up the competency hearing. Emergency basis. I'll testify that you're in immediate danger of harming yourself. You can't do that, David said uncertainly. Can and I will. Because if she's talking to the police, if she's making wild accusations, she's not capable of making her own decisions. Lisa's eyes locked on mine. And I saw something in them I'd never seen before. Pure calculation. Empty of love or regret. I'm sorry, Mom. But you forced my hand. She stepped into the hallway to make the call. Her voice low and urgent. Amy moved closer to me. Have you done? If you're involved in a police investigation. I'm a witness, not a suspect. There's a difference. Not always. Her nurse brain was working. If Lisa is being investigated and you're talking to detectives. You could be seen as working against your own daughter. That makes you vulnerable. They could pressure you, manipulate you, like Lisa is manipulating all of you. She looked hurt but didn't back down. Came here to help you. But if you're determined to destroy this family, there's nothing I can do. David approached, his face troubled. I don't understand what's happening. But Lisa is right about one thing. You're acting different. These accusations, this paranoia. It's not like you. Maybe it is like me. Maybe I'm finally asking the questions I should have asked 5 years ago when your father died. What does Dad have to do with this? Everything. I looked at my son, sweet trusting David, and made a choice. Your father was murdered, David, because he knew too much about corrupt business deals. And now your sister is following in the footsteps of the men who killed him. David stared at me like I'd said something impossible. That's crazy, is it? Or is it the truth everyone's been too afraid to see? Lisa returned, her face set. Price is filing emergency papers now. The hearing is scheduled for tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Until then, Mom, I strongly suggest you don't talk to anyone else. No police. No investigators. No one. For your own protection. Or for yours. She didn't answer. Instead, she gathered Jenny and headed toward the door. Me followed, shaking her head. David hesitated, looking between me and his sister. David, I said quietly, ask yourself why Lisa is so afraid of what I might say. Ask yourself what she's really protecting. I'm protecting our family. Lisa snapped. From you. They left. All of them. Leaving me alone in the apartment that suddenly felt enormous and empty. I went to the bathroom, locked the door, and removed the recording device. My hands shook as I played back the audio. Every word was there. Lisa admitting she knew about George's files. Her reaction to Robert's name. Her panic about the police. Her threat to have me declared incompetent immediately. Was good. But was it enough? My phone rang. I heard everything, he said. Santos is listening to the recording now. He says it's strong. But Lisa was careful. She didn't admit to any specific crimes. What about the emergency hearing? That's actually good for us. It means she's panicking. Making rushed decisions. Panic people make mistakes. He paused. Mrs. Roberts. There's something else. Robertson just contacted me. He says he has physical evidence. Documents proving Lisa's connection to Shaw. But he'll only hand them over to you in person. Me. He says it's insurance. If he gives them to the police or to me, Lisa can claim they're fake. But if you have them, if you present them at the competency hearing, they become part of the legal record. Harder to dismiss. Where is he? An address in Salem. He wants to meet tonight. But Mrs. Roberts. Could be a trap. Lisa knows Robert is the weak link. If she's gotten to him, if she's turned him, I have to take the risk. Without that evidence tomorrow I lose everything. Kate was quiet for a moment. I'll drive you. And Santos is putting a protection team on us. But we leave now. And we don't tell anyone where we're going. As I grabbed my coat, I noticed something on my kitchen table. An envelope that hadn't been there before. Left while everyone was in the living room. While I was distracted by confrontation. Inside was a photograph of Lily and Max, my grandchildren, walking out of their school. Someone had drawn red X's over their faces. On the back in the same handwriting from the previous threat. Stop now or they're next. The photograph of my grandchildren burned in my hand. I stared at those red X's. At Lily's bright smile and Max's missing front tooth. And felt something shift inside me. Fear turned into fury. These people, whoever they were, had crossed a line that couldn't be. Crossed. I called Kate back immediately. Change of plans. Before we meet Robert, the first need to make a stop. Where? Lisa's house. I need to get Lily and Max somewhere safe. Mrs. Roberts. That's exactly what they want. They're baiting you into doing something rash. Something they can use against you in court tomorrow. I don't care. Those children are innocent. I won't let them become victims of their mother's crimes. Kate was silent for a moment. But we do this smart. Santos will send officers to watch Lisa's house tonight. If anything happens, if anyone approaches those children, they'll step in. But you confronting Lisa right now, after this afternoon's disaster, will only make things worse. She was right. But every instinct screamed at me to protect my grandchildren. Fine. But if anything happens to them, it won't. Promise. Kate's voice softened. Let's go meet Robert. Whatever evidence he has, we need it before that hearing tomorrow. I met Kate 2 blocks from my apartment. She was driving a different car. A plain gray sedan that blended into traffic. As I got into the passenger seat, I noticed a man in the back. Mrs. Roberts. This is Detective Santos' partner. Detective Reeves. He'll be our security for this meeting. Reeves nodded but didn't speak. He had the awareness of someone trained to spot danger. His eyes constantly watching our surroundings. We drove to echoing in the empty lot. Unit 189 was in the back row. His door slightly open, light coming from inside. Robert called out. It's Margaret Roberts. No response. Reeves moved forward carefully, pushing the door open wider with his foot. The unit was maybe 8 by 10 feet, filled with boxes and filing cabinets. And sitting on a folding chair in the middle of it all was Robert Chen. He looked terrible, thinner than I remembered, with dark circles under his eyes and days of stubble on his face. When he saw me, relief flooded his face. Mrs. Roberts, thank you for coming. Then he noticed Reeves and Kate and his expression changed. I said, come alone. If my daughter is as dangerous as you say, I wasn't going to take that chance. Robert stood slowly, his hands visible, non-threatening. Who are they? People helping me. Robert, do you have the documents or not? He moved to one of the filing cabinets and pulled out a thick folder. Everything's here. Loan applications with forged signatures, fake company registrations, bank statements showing money moving between accounts, and most importantly, phone records showing regular contact between Lisa and Martin Shaw. Kate took the folder, looking through the contents. Her eyes got wide. This is Robert. This is enough to file charges. Why didn't you give this to the police months ago? Because I'm connected to half of these documents. My signature is on the fake company paperwork. I approved fraudulent loans. If I turned this over, I'd be arrested alongside Lisa. He looked at me. But if you have them, if you present them as evidence you discovered yourself, I'm just a name in the files. The focus stays on Lisa and Shaw. You're asking me to lie, said. I'm asking you to survive. Because Mrs. Roberts, if Lisa gets that competency approval tomorrow, these documents disappear. She'll have legal access to your apartment, your papers, everything. She'll destroy any evidence you've gathered. And then she wins. Reeves spoke for the first time. This isn't how we do things. Evidence has to maintain proper handling. If Mrs. Roberts presents documents at a civil hearing without explaining where she got them, then they become part of the legal record before Lisa can bury them. Robert interrupted. Look, I know the rules. I also know how Lisa operates. She's already planning her next move. That emergency competency hearing. She's going to have 3 doctors testify that Mrs. Roberts is incompetent. She's going to have bank records, witness statements, complete picture of a woman in decline. The judge will have no choice but to grant approval. Unless I prove she's the one who's incompetent. Or rather criminal. I reached for the folder. I'll do it. I'll present these documents tomorrow. Mrs. Roberts. Reeves warned. If you misrepresent evidence in a court proceeding, I won't misrepresent anything. I'll simply say I found documents that raise questions about my daughter's business practices. That's true. I'm finding them right now. Met his gaze steadily. Sometimes you have to bend the rules to expose the truth. Robert pulled out another envelope. There's something else. Security camera footage from Lisa's office building. This was hard to get. But I have a friend who manages the property. The footage shows Lisa meeting with Shaw multiple times over the past 5 months. It also shows Lisa and Jenny entering your apartment 2 weeks ago when you weren't home. My blood ran cold. They were in your apartment for about an hour. Don't know what they did. But it wasn't a social visit. He handed me the envelope. The footage has timestamps. It's authentic. Kate was looking at her phone, frowning. We need to leave now. What's wrong? Santos just texted. Someone accessed the court database 15 minutes ago. Pulled up information about tomorrow's hearing. The computer address traced back to the storage facility's internet. Robert went pale. That's impossible. I've been here alone all evening. Not quite, said a voice from the doorway. We spun around. A man stood outlined against the lights. Well dressed. Probably in his 60s. Even before he stepped into the light, I knew who he was. Martin Shaw. Mrs. Roberts. He said with a pleasant smile. I've heard so much about you. Your daughter speaks of you often. Reeves had his gun out instantly. Please, don't move. Shaw raised his hands slowly. Still smiling. Course. Though I should mention I'm not here alone either. My associates are currently positioned around this facility. If anything unfortunate happens to me, they have instructions to respond accordingly. Is that a threat? Reeves demanded. It's a statement of fact. I'm a businessman, Detective Reeves. I deal in clear terms and mutual understanding. He looked at me. Mrs. Roberts. You've created quite a problem. I had such hopes for your daughter. She reminded me of myself at that age. Ambitious. Smart. Willing to do what's necessary. But she made a mistake. She got emotional. Trying to steal from her own mother. Involving family and business. The two should never mix. Creates complications. Shaw's tone was conversational. As if we were discussing the weather. I'm here to offer you a deal. Return those documents to Robert. Forget everything you've learned. And let the competency proceeding happen as planned. In exchange I get Roberts. 10 years ago, when the foundation of this operation was built, he saw what we were doing. He had chances to expose it. But he stayed quiet. 'Cause he was afraid. Afraid of losing his job. His reputation. His comfortable life. Yes, he was complicit in his own way. His silence allowed the operation to continue. The words were designed to hurt. To shake my trust in George's memory. But they had the opposite effect. Because I knew the truth. George had written down everything. He'd been building a case. Gathering evidence. And then he died. You killed him. Said. 'Cause he was going to expose you. Shaw's smile returned. Strokes are so common. So tragic. And so very difficult to prove otherwise. Especially after 5 years. It was a confession. Veiled. Carefully worded. But unmistakable. And I was standing in a storage unit with a police detective as a witness. Reeves stepped closer to Shaw. Martin Shaw. You're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder. Fraud. The lights went out. For 3 seconds the storage facility was plunged into complete darkness. I heard Kate shout. Heard Reeves curse. Heard the sound of running feet. Then emergency lights came on. Dim and red. Casting everything in hellish shadows. Shaw was gone. Stay here. Reeves ordered. Running toward the door. Gunshots echoed across the facility. 3 rapid pops followed by the screech of tires. Kate pulled me behind a filing cabinet. Robert crouched beside us. His face white with terror. They're going to kill us. They're going to kill all of us. No one's dying tonight. Kate said firmly. She pulled out her phone. Dialing frantically. Santos. We need immediate backup at the Salem storage facility. Shots fired. Shaw was here. He ran. More gunshots. Closer this time. Then silence. Reeves appeared in the doorway. Breathing hard. They're gone. 2 vehicles. Both heading east. Local police are chasing them. But they had a head start. Is anyone hurt? Yes. They weren't shooting at us. They were shooting out security cameras. He put his gun away. They didn't want footage of Shaw being here. But they made a mistake. There are traffic cameras at the intersection. We'll have something. Kate helped me to my feet. My legs felt weak. My heart racing. What happens now? Now we get you somewhere safe. 'Cause Shaw knows you have those documents. And he knows you won't give them up. Reeves looked at Robert. You two. You're both witnesses now. Makes you valuable and vulnerable. We left the storage facility with police sirens wailing in the distance. Kate drove us to a safe house. An anonymous apartment in a residential building. Protected by police officers. Robert was taken to a separate location. It was 2 in the morning when I finally sat down with the documents spread across a dining table. Kate and Detective Santos, who'd arrived an hour earlier, reviewed everything carefully. This is good, Santos said finally. Really good. Phone records alone establish a pattern of contact between Lisa and Shaw. The bank statements show money laundering. And the security footage of them entering your apartment. That's breaking and entering at minimum. Possibly conspiracy to commit fraud. But Shaw escaped, said. He's gone. And he'll warn Lisa. Let him. Because we're not waiting for tomorrow's hearing anymore. We're executing search warrants tonight. Santos checked her watch. In about 1 hour. Simultaneous raids on Lisa's office, her home, and 3 properties connected to Shaw. Whatever evidence they haven't destroyed yet. We'll get it. What about the competency hearing? You're still going. Because that's where Lisa will be. Expecting an easy victory. And that's where we'll arrest her. Santos' expression was serious. I need you to be strong tomorrow, Mrs. Roberts. I need you to sit in that courtroom and let Lisa make her case. Let her present her doctors, her witnesses, or manufactured evidence. And then when she thinks she's won, we move. You're using me as bait. I'm giving you a chance to face your daughter in a moment when she thinks she's untouchable. When her guard is down and her arrogance is up. That's when people reveal who they really are. I thought about Lily and Max. About George's memory. About the 17 families Lisa had destroyed. What do I need to do? Be yourself. Be the strong, intelligent woman who raised 4 children and survived loss and figured out a conspiracy that took us a 1.5 years to uncover. Show that judge. Show your family. Show Lisa that you're nobody's victim. Kate squeezed my hand. You can do this. I looked at the documents. Evidence of my daughter's crimes. Proof of her betrayal. The key to saving my savings and my freedom. And I thought about what Robert had said. Sometimes you have to bend the rules to expose the truth. I'll do more than that. I said quietly. I'll make her confess. Santos raised an eyebrow. 'Cause I know Lisa. I know how she thinks. How she operates. She believes she's smarter than everyone else. That she's planned for every possibility. But she's forgotten something important. What's that? I'm her mother. I know exactly which buttons to push. At 9 o'clock the next morning I walked into the courthouse wearing my best dress and carrying a folder of documents. Lisa was already there. With Harold Price, her lawyer. And Jenny beside her looking perfectly composed. Amy sat behind them in the gallery. Her professional mask in place. David was there too. Looking uncomfortable and conflicted. Lisa saw me and smiled. The confident smile of someone who thought they'd already won. She had no idea that police officers were positioned throughout the courthouse. That search warrants were being executed at that very moment. That every word spoken in this courtroom would be recorded and used against her. The judge entered. An older woman with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense manner. This is an emergency hearing regarding the competency petition for Margaret Roberts. Mr. Price, you may proceed. And so began the final confrontation. With my daughter about to learn that underestimating your mother is the most dangerous mistake anyone can make. Harold Price stood before the judge with practiced confidence. Your Honor, we're here because the Roberts family is facing a heartbreaking situation. Mrs. Margaret Roberts, a woman we all love and respect, is suffering from mental decline that has progressed to the point where she can no longer safely manage her own affairs. I sat at my table with a court-appointed attorney beside me, a young man named James Park who'd been briefed by Santos and knew exactly what was about to happen. I kept my expression neutral. My hand crossed the judge's face. Exactly what Lisa had calculated. Poor confused elderly woman unable to grasp the complexity of legal proceedings. Mrs. Roberts, this isn't about taking your savings, the judge said gently. This is about making sure you have support and protection. Please sit down. Your attorney will represent you. Catching Lisa's expression. Satisfaction mixed with what might have been real sadness. Maybe some part of her actually believed she was helping me. Or maybe she'd simply convinced herself that stealing from her mother was justified because I was old and she was smart. Dr. Morrison testified first. He described appointments I'd allegedly missed. Phone calls where I'd asked about medicines I'd never been prescribed. Signs of memory loss and confusion. His testimony was smooth, rehearsed, and completely fabricated. When James cross-examined him, he was gentle. Dr. Morrison, do you have actual records of these phone calls? Receptionist wrote them in our system. Could we see those records? I would need to request them from the office. So you don't have them here today. And these missed appointments. Could Mrs. Roberts have simply rescheduled them? Well, yes, but the pattern suggests. Thank you, doctor. James sat down, having planted seeds of doubt without being aggressive. We didn't need to destroy their case yet. Just create cracks. Dr. White, the neurologist, was more believable. She'd reviewed my medical history, real records, real data, and constructed a story of age-related mental decline. It was compelling because it was technically possible. Even if it wasn't true, James asked only one question. Dr. White, have you ever actually examined Mrs. Roberts in person? But based on the documented evidence. Thank you. Then came Dr. Green, the psychiatrist. This was the dangerous one. He'd been hired specifically to diagnose paranoid delusions, and his testimony was designed to make me sound unstable. Mrs. Roberts has made repeated accusations that her daughter is involved in criminal activity, Dr. Green said. She believes there's a conspiracy to steal her property. She's claimed her husband was murdered despite medical evidence of natural causes. These beliefs are not based in reality, but rather represent a pattern of paranoid thinking common in certain conditions. I felt David shift uncomfortably behind me. Even Amy looked uncertain. They were hearing their mother described as mentally ill, and some part of them was questioning whether it might be true. Price called Lisa to the stand. My daughter looked appropriately concerned. Her clothes slightly wrinkled, hair a bit messy, as if she'd been losing sleep over her mother's condition. She was good at this. She'd probably been practicing. Miss Roberts, tell us about your mother's recent behavior. Lisa took a deep breath. It's been difficult to watch. Mom's always been sharp, independent, but over the past few months things have changed. She sent me emails that didn't make sense, rambling about my father's old work files, asking about people I don't know. When I tried to discuss financial planning with her, she'd forget we talked about it, then accuse me of never mentioning it. Did she make accusations against you specifically? Lisa's voice broke convincingly. She said I was trying to steal her retirement savings, that I was involved in fraud. She even claimed I'd threatened her, she shook her head. It broke my heart, 'cause I know she believes these things. In her mind they're real, but they're not. I love my mother. I just want her safe. The judge was watching her with sympathy. The gallery was silent. Even James looked concerned, as if he was wondering whether we'd misjudged the situation. Then it was James' turn to cross-examine. Miss Roberts, you mentioned financial planning. Did you recommend a specific person to your mother? Harold Price, who's representing our family today, and Mr. Price is also the registered agent for a company called Coastal Investments Group. Correct. Lisa blinked. I'm not sure. He handles various business matters. Coastal Investments Group is the entity listed on a bank transfer document that has your mother's signature. A document that would transfer her retirement account to this company. Are you familiar with that document? Price stood quickly. Your Honor, this is beyond the scope. I'll allow it, the judge said, her expression sharpening. Miss Roberts, answer the question. I don't know anything about that document. Really? Because Coastal Investments was registered 2 months ago. The same week you first mentioned financial planning to your mother. Isn't that quite a coincidence? Suppose. And you had your mother's bank account researched recently, didn't you? For investment potential. Lisa's composure cracked slightly. That was just preliminary research. I thought if Mom ever decided to move her money. But she hasn't decided to move it. In fact, she specifically said she wants to keep things as they are. Yet somehow a bank transfer document with her signature already exists. James' voice was calm but relentless. Miss Roberts, did you forge your mother's signature on that document? Well, course not. I've never even seen. Then how do you explain that it exists? How do you explain that the document is dated next week? As if the transfer was already planned. Your Honor, my client is not on trial here. Price said desperately. Isn't she? The judge's gaze had gone cold. Because it's starting to sound like this competency petition isn't about Mrs. Roberts' welfare at all. That's when I stood up. Your Honor, may I speak? The judge nodded slowly. Mrs. Roberts, you have the right to address the court. I walked to the witness stand. Steady and clear-eyed. No trembling. No confusion. Just a woman who'd made a decision and was prepared to see it through. My daughter is correct about one thing. He began. I have been acting differently. I've been asking questions, investigating, making accusations. But not because I'm confused. Because I discovered the truth about what Lisa has been doing. I pulled out the folder Robert had given me and handed it to the judge. These are documents showing a pattern of fraud committed by my daughter. Forged loan applications, fake company registrations, bank records showing money laundering, phone records proving regular contact with a man named Martin Shaw, who's currently under security camera footage showing you and Jenny breaking into my apartment 2 weeks ago. Explain why you've been meeting regularly with Martin Shaw, a known criminal. Explain why you filed this competency petition the same day I started asking questions about your business. Lisa looked at Price desperately. The lawyer was frantically whispering into his phone, probably trying to reach Shaw, not knowing that police were at that moment going through every file in both their offices. Your Honor, continued, my daughter didn't file this petition to protect me. She filed it to silence me, to gain legal control over my retirement savings so she could complete the largest theft of her career, stealing from her own mother. And she manufactured evidence of my incompetence to make it look legitimate. The judge set down the documents. Mr. Price, I'm going to ask you a direct question, and I expect a truthful answer. Did you prepare a bank transfer document for Mrs. Roberts' retirement account? Price's face had gone gray. Your Honor, attorney-client privilege prevents me from. Attorney-client privilege does not protect ongoing fraud. Answer the question. Before Price could respond, the courtroom doors opened. Detective Santos walked in, flanked by 4 other police officers. Your Honor, I'm Detective Maria Santos, Financial Crimes Unit. We have warrants for the arrest of Lisa Roberts and Harold Price on charges of conspiracy to commit fraud, elder abuse, and money laundering. Lisa stood up so fast her chair fell backward. This is insane. Tell them. Tell them what? I looked at my daughter, really looked at her, and saw a stranger wearing my child's face. That you're innocent. That I'm confused. Lisa, I found your father's files. I know you've been following Shaw's methods since you were 23 years old. I know you saw George's death as an opportunity, not a tragedy. Because it meant no one was left to warn you away from this path. That's not true. I love Dad. You loved the idea of not being like him. Of being richer, more successful, more ruthless. And you convinced yourself that made you better than him. But George was 10 times the person you'll ever be. 'Cause he understood something you never did. Honesty matters more than wealth. Tears were streaming down Lisa's face now. Whether from real emotion or fear of prison I couldn't tell. Maybe she didn't know either. Sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. Am I? My voice was steady despite the breaking of my heart. I'm sorry I didn't see this sooner. I'm sorry I didn't ask harder questions when you bought that expensive house and those luxury cars on a bank worker's salary. I'm sorry I wanted to believe the best of you instead of facing the truth. Santos stepped forward. Lisa Roberts. You're under arrest. You have the right to remain silent. As the officers led Lisa away, she looked back at me one last time. In her eyes I saw confusion, fear, and something that might have been real regret. But it was too late for regret. Too late for apologies. She'd made her choices. And now she'd face the consequences. Jenny was in handcuffs too. She'd been arrested at Lisa's house when the search warrant was executed. Amy sat in the gallery, her face buried in her hands. David stared straight ahead in shock. The judge cleared her throat. Mrs. Roberts. It appears this competency petition was filed under false pretenses. I'm dismissing it immediately. And ordering an investigation into who falsified the medical evidence presented today. Also issuing an order preventing any transfer or sale of your retirement account pending the outcome of the police investigation. Thank you, Your Honor. Don't thank me. You did the hard work. She looked at me with something like respect. Not many people would have the courage to do what you just did. Outside the courthouse, Kate was waiting with Robert. They'd watched the proceedings from a secure location, ready to testify if needed. You were magnificent, Kate said, hugging me. I was terrified. That's what made it magnificent. Being brave isn't about not being afraid. It's about doing what's right anyway. Robert approached hesitantly. Mrs. Roberts. I don't expect forgiveness for my part in this. But thank you for giving me a chance to make it right. You'll testify against Shaw. Every word. They arrested him 2 hours ago. Trying to board a private plane to Mexico. He's not getting away this time. Over the following weeks, the full scope of Lisa's operation came to light. 17. Victims became 29 as more people came forward. The total losses exceeded $4 million. Lisa, Jenny, and Price all faced multiple charges. The trial wouldn't happen for months, maybe years. But the evidence was overwhelming. Amy flew back to her hospital without saying goodbye. Though she sent a brief email apologizing for not believing me. David came to the apartment one evening, sat in the kitchen, and cried. I should have known, he said. I should have seen it. She fooled all of. Sweetheart, that's what con artists do best. But you figured it out. 'Cause I had to. Because I didn't have the luxury of believing the comfortable lie. I squeezed his hand. David, you're a good man. You're more like your father than Lisa ever was. Hold on to that. Lily and Max were the hardest part. Telling 2 little children that their mother was in jail. That their lives had changed forever. It was a conversation I'd never imagined having. But they came to stay with me while the legal situation was sorted out. My apartment, once too quiet for one person, filled with laughter and homework and the beautiful chaos of children, taught them to bake, to read, to appreciate the simple satisfaction of work well done. And sometimes when I was tucking them in at night, they'd ask about their mother. I'd tell them the truth, simple but honest, that she'd made terrible choices, that she'd hurt people. But that somewhere underneath the criminal was a girl I'd loved. A daughter I'd raised to be better. Do you still love her, Grandma? Max asked one night. I love the person she could have been, said. And I hope that someday she'll become that person. 5 months after the arrests, the police recovered nearly $3 million in assets. The process of returning money to victims would take years. But at least it was happening. At least there was justice. My retirement account remained mine. Of course, the forged bank transfer was cancelled. He updated my will, leaving everything in equal shares to Amy, David, Lily, and Max, not Lisa. Even if she someday earned forgiveness, she'd already taken too much. Kate and I stayed in touch. She'd moved on to other cases, other investigations. But she stopped by occasionally for tea and conversation. She'd become a friend, forged in crisis, tested by danger. And Robert. He would help someone else the way they'd helped me. David drove up with Lily and Max, coming for Sunday dinner as they did every week now. The children ran to check on the tomato plants we'd planted together on the balcony. David said, settling into the chair beside me. I've been thinking about something. About what you did. How you fought back when everyone said you couldn't. How you saved yourself and protected all of us. I did what needed to be done. But that's the thing. Didn't just survive. You won. Against someone younger. Supposedly smarter. With money and lawyers and manipulation. You beat her by being patient and strategic and brave. And by accepting help. I didn't do this alone. But you led the fight. And I think, he paused, choosing his words carefully. I think I spent my whole life believing that people like Lisa, aggressive, ambitious, ruthless, were the ones who succeeded in this world. But you proved that wisdom and honesty are more powerful than any of that. I looked at my son, at the goodness in his face, and felt proud. Your father believed that too. He lived it every day, even when it cost him. And in the end, his honesty outlasted all of Shaw's schemes. Max called from the balcony, excited about a tomato that had turned red. Lily was watching a bird. Normal, beautiful, innocent moments. They're going to be okay, said. Watching my grandchildren. Because of you. David replied. Because we're family. The real kind. The kind that protects and nurtures and tells the truth. Even when it hurts. That evening, after dinner and stories and goodnight kisses, I stood in my bedroom and looked at the photograph of George on my nightstand. The man I'd loved for 37 years. Who'd tried to do the right thing and paid for it with his life. Finished it. I told his photo. What you started. Finished. And our grandchildren are safe. The apartment settled around me with familiar sounds and whispers. My apartment. My home. The place where I'd raised children and buried dreams and ultimately discovered a strength I didn't know I possessed. They tried to take it from me. They tried to silence me. Dismiss me. Label me incompetent because I was old and they were young. But I'd proven something more important than my own innocence. I'd proven that age is not weakness. That a woman who's lived 67 years, who's raised children and buried a husband and survived grief and joy and everything in between, has accumulated something more valuable than youth or ambition. Wisdom, patience, the absolute certainty of knowing who you are and what you stand for. And in the end, that certainty was the most powerful weapon of all. I slept peacefully that night. In my own bed. In my own home. Surrounded by the evidence of a life well lived and a battle righteously won. The victory was mine. Silent. Complete. And absolutely earned. Oh, tell me. What would you have done if you were in my place? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching Granny's Voice. And don't forget to check out the video on your screen right now. I'm sure it will surprise you.